county, the school districts, everybody pretty much operates on this basis, but values are set by the Gregg County Appraisal District. Those are your home values, your business values if you own a business or whatever. There's a value set on that, and then the local government, city being one of them, levies a tax against our property. And so the appraised values were down a little bit. Now, why they were down, I say Hutchinson County, I talked about my old job. Gregg County values were up because a lot of construction going on, some different things. Where the value decrease came from, there's a portion of the city of Longview that is in Harrison County. And that was the portion that we saw the big reduction in property values because the Dana Corporation closed and moved out, and that really did hurt the Harrison County values. But like I said, Harrison County is a smaller portion, so when you balanced it all out, it ate up the increase that we had on the value side from Gregg County. We are not having any property tax increase. Now that's, the taxes levied against those property values. The other portion of our revenue in the general fund comes from sales tax collections, and we did not budget any projected increase in sales tax. Now we want sales tax to go up because that's a consumption tax that people, when they spend money, if you go to the grocery store, you're going to buy something, then a sales tax is collected. So the sales tax is good because that means the people are buying and selling and commerce going on, people are traveling. So that's a good thing for those tax collections to go up. But we tried to budget conservatively, so we didn't increase any sales tax collections. No water or sewer rate increases. We held those flat again for this year. We did have a proposed rate for sanitation services, but we did not implement that at all, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. We changed our services, and we're not having a sanitation increase. And then to maintain a fiscally sound fund balance. Some budget highlights. We had a continued emphasis on our 2011 street bond projects. You'll remember, I don't know, it's been about 2.5, 3 years ago, the city voters passed a street bond election. Mike Denholm, I think, was on that committee, mayor's task force that looked at that. But it was a $52 million voter-approved bond issue. And then I'll show you in a moment kind of the progress we've made in that. But anyway, we are right in the middle of that, and we're doing a lot of great street improvements that we're real proud of. The city will issue another $23 million in bonds in December, so we've done about half of it, and this is the second half of the voter-approved bond election. Also, we looked, as part of this budget, a market-based compensation plan. And there's a lot of discussion on how to pay city employees. Do you pay them too much? Do you pay them too little? Their benefits, all these things. And in 2007, I believe it was, or 2008, the city of Longview, the city council and mayor, directed us to go to more of a market-based pay plan. So we had a consultant come in at that time, and we looked at 19 different cities all across the state of Texas that were comparable to Longview in size, number of employees, those things. And we tried to, our theory was we don't want to be the highest paid in our market, but we don't want to be the lowest paid. We want our employees to be about average from these other communities. So that's the plan that we embarked on. And after that year, and remember in 2008 and 2009, of course, the economy tanked pretty bad, and we did not get to implement that. So we went and updated that market plan, and so we moved and budgeted enough money to implement that market plan for this year for our employees. Then also street maintenance, a continued focus on that, and we budgeted $1.5 million to go to our regular street maintenance fund. Also a comprehensive plan, we'll talk more about that in a moment. We budgeted $225,000 for this comprehensive plan, and we'll visit more about that. We also added an additional frontline ambulance and crew to our EMS services. Our EMS services are very vital to this community, one of our core services that we provide. And you'll see a slide here in a moment that talks about how that business has really grown. And you'll see here and this is kind of a busy slide, but basically in 1995, our emergency calls for EMS transports went from 3,300 annually to, in 2013, over 10,000 calls for service. And so we've been operating since 1995, I believe, with 4 frontline ambulances, and we'll have a reserve ambulance or 2, just for reserve purposes. But we added an additional ambulance, going to hire additional crew to take some of the pressure off, because we're so busy in some of those areas that it leaves us vulnerable more than we want to be when we're responding to those calls for service. Here's a chart that talks about our property tax values and gives a historical look, and you can kind of see it goes from 2008 to the current in 2014, and these are City of Longview values that Gregg County and Harrison County Appraisal District values the property that we levy our property tax on. And you can see in 2008 it was $4,758,614,150, and we've had some good growth in Longview value-wise, and this is a sign of values going up, your home values going up, businesses doing better, things of that nature. And 2014, our taxable value is $5,499,077, which you see is just slightly under what it was in 2013. So we did lose a little bit of value, but not much, really. So the property tax revenue generated from those tax values, you see the same scale, and the current tax rate, and we didn't change the tax rate, the overall rate didn't change, and it generated 26 million, or we're projecting for this next budget year it'll generate $26,780,770. Sales tax revenue, you see the takeaway on this chart is you see how it dipped in 2010, and that was kind of our low in the bottom of the recession, but we've picked back up steam and gained everything, and really about $20 million a year is what we've been averaging for the last couple of years in sales tax revenue. So it's really pretty flat, and what this shows me is that we had the dip, but Longview's economy is really a pretty stable economy for the most part. This is an interesting chart that shows tax rates, and of course this is the property values now that are assessed, and then the rate is levied on it. And you'll see 2 colors, one's blue and one's red. The blue indicates our M&O, what we call our M&O. That's our maintenance and operations, and that's on the general fund that covers our everyday costs, salaries, administrative costs, running the equipment, things of that nature, your general operating expenses. And then the other is the debt service. That's what we pay on the bonds. And you'll notice that this goes from 2004 to 14, and you'll see that the first few years it was $48.34 per $100 valuation. And so the tax rate stayed stable there. And then it increased a little bit, and then stayed stable for 4 or 5 years. And then in 2000, when we passed the bond issue, it jumped to a little over 50 cents, and that is a result of the voter-approved bond issue. So every year we get our tax value, and we see what our debt service is going to be on those street bonds, and how much of that tax rate needs to be allocated to pay the debt service every year. And so some of those will be going off every year, and some, add back on. But I think, of course I'm a little bit partial, but I think since 2004, for a 10-year period, and the tax rate's been pretty flat except for what the voters approved, I think that's doing pretty good. In the general fund, this is the revenues that it takes to operate the city. Now you'll see that the red and the blue piece of the pie show the sales tax and property tax. And of course those are our largest sources of revenue. The property tax is in blue, and we're going to generate a little over $20 million there. and a little over $20 million in the sales tax. So your tax dollars, people say, well, our tax dollars fund the city government, and they only fund a portion of that. Your property taxes only fund or show about 30% of the revenue for the general fund in the city. And the others made up of franchise taxes. These are taxes we get from the telephone company, from the electrical, the gas company for using public right-of-way. They pay a franchise tax. We also have charges for service, fees, fines, and those things. But our total general fund is a little over $61 million. And this is what is paid out of the general fund. All of your fire and police, and you notice those are the 62% of the general fund money pays for fire and police operations, public safety for the city of Longview. Streets is an important part. Our parks, nearly $6 million of taxpayer money and general fund money goes to fund our parks. And then the other things, administration is, let's see, it's in that light blue, nearly $2 million goes for administration. So, out of a $61 million budget, $2 million for the administrative costs, basically, I feel like it's a pretty good number. So this is a general fund summary that I think really gives you a glimpse of where we are as a city financially. You'll see in the very top our beginning fund balance. Now, fund balance is an accounting term for governmental accounting. It's really your surplus reserves or your things that you have saved back. But our beginning balance, beginning this October, the end of September, is going to be, and these are estimated because we don't have our final numbers in for September yet, but based on our best estimate, we're going to begin October 1 with a fund balance of $15,578,000. We're projecting revenues next year of $61 million, and you can read that, and expenditures of the same. So our maintenance and operations, you see, we have a balanced budget there of expenditures. So our ending fund balance will be the $15,578,000, which is a 25% fund balance, which is very healthy. Now, out of that fund balance, we have some reserves out of there that we're saving and holding back. One of these reserves is what you see for OPEB, $1.5 million. Now, that's an acronym that our financial auditors make us reserve out. It's for other post-employment benefits. These are for retiree benefits.